and go take the whole thing with us.
The idea is, I was at the brick and mortar congregation. I used to give regular sermons, and it was always very difficult for me to figure out what to preach. And I found out that I was really preaching what I needed to hear. And so this is a total twist on it, is to ask people to come up with their own advice. So to ask somebody to think of how old you are now. Now subtract 10 to 25 years, depending on how old you are and how much you want to do. And you take that younger age of yourself, and you think, well, I'm older and wiser now. What spiritual religious advice, and if you can imagine maybe a Post-it note, if you could give a Post-it note back in time to that part of you, younger, what spiritual religious advice would you write on that Post-it note to give to that younger you? And people come up with the most beautiful advice of what they know they wish they had heard, what it is that they something. Well, I'm not going to give examples. People, I want them to think of what their ideas are. And then I ask, after you come up with that Post-it note of what you would tell your younger self, I want you to think of, add 10 to 25 years to your age now. And I want you to think of what that you, 10 to 25 years older than you are now, would tell you right now. If that older you could write you a Post-it note, what would that older, wiser you write on a Post-it note to tell you today? And those two little exercises, or what you wind up on those two little Post-it notes, those are some great spiritual religious advice, and that's part of what I say is your modern day theophany, your modern day figuring out what it is that God wants from you. If you look at what you wrote on those two Post-it notes, if it's the same thing or if it's a different thing, but you can get some ideas of what it is that you know.
I thought that was one of the most beautiful ones, but then you came up with another gem, and I think if there's something that I can reach out and give the people, this is what I want it to be. And it's your question that how you write this out. You go, why is it easier to say, I wish I had blank, instead of starting the process now?
Yeah.
And you say it's easier to blame and regret than to be proactive and responsible. And boy, you can't, if there's a little hitch when you do these exercises and practices, you almost want to kick yourself in the butt, as you said before, rather than just say, hey, let's start from now.
Well, I found in doing this exercise with a lot of people that people would invariably give, and it doesn't happen for everyone, so if that's not how it happened for whoever's watching, that's fine. But for a lot of people, they'll give their past self advice that is much more active than their future self would give them. And that's because we don't want to start now, as you said. But then you got it perfectly. As you said, start now, and don't add kicking your own ass into the equation. You don't need to do that.
Well, I did say your website. It's a good place for people to start if they want to find out more about you and the work you're doing, and even deeper stuff about the book, because each week you're always giving out some advice. So let me give that out for everybody, and it's real simple. It's the abbreviation for Religion Outside the Box. It's www.rotb.org. One more time, that's www.rotb.org. We're almost out of time, Brad, but I want to hit maybe one thing. I'll hit the one thing first, and if I have a little bit more time, I'll go to the other. That is, you have what you call Rabbi Brian's answers. And a few of them I want to give out as an answer, and I want you to elaborate on. Celebrate freedom. God wants me to relax, enjoy and celebrate what I can, free myself, and this is the one I thought so important, to free myself from my false notions of me.
First, I need to say, all of that part of the book, Rabbi Brian's answers, are in a parenthesis, because that's not the point of the book. The point of the book is for everyone to find out their answers, and my answers are there so that you have something to work from, and I encourage people to cross out the words that don't work for them. To free, I think that's part of the point of real spiritual religious life, is to free ourselves from ourselves so we can be ourselves. I know that sounds like woo-woo mumble jumble, but let me try to parse it out some. We get really confused that we are what we have, that we are what we do, that we are what we think, that we are because we're in relation with other people. We're not real. That doesn't really define who we are. We're much more than that. We're much more than our possessions, our thoughts, our feelings, we are, it says in the Bible, true or truth, but I'm going with the truth part of it, that we are the image of the divine, that's really who we are inside, that we have that connect, it's impossible to put into words. I can't put it into words, but we need to free ourselves from all the rest of the stuff so we can get towards that real sense.
But and one of the answers you give in that real sense is to shine.
Mm-hmm.
And when I even hit it, I found myself up against the roadblock because I kept seeing the word pride and proud, and it's the 7 deadly sin. How do you shine within yourself without feeling bloated and pig-headed? How do you really settle in on that shine?
Humility, remembering that this isn't me. It's not my doing it. It's I don't have a great answer for that. So let me humbly say I don't know. But we know the difference. We know the difference between that pig-headed, shiny arrogance and just shiny because there's a light within us. I wish I had a better answer, but I'm going with the humility aspect of not having a great answer.
Well, you know what? I think that is the greatest answer. For Brian, I want to thank you for helping me and my viewers shine. And I want to thank you for joining us. Now, before Rabbi Brian Mayer leaves, I would like to leave you with these words from How to Find Out What the God of Your Understanding Wants from You. When I ask myself the question, do I allow myself to shine? I know I want to answer in the affirmative, but I also know that there is almost a panic that happens in my head when I hear that question, that perhaps I'm not doing as good of a job as I should be. I'm Barry Kibrick. Look closely between the lines, and you will find what the God of your understanding wants from you, and then you will shine and do as good a job as you should. Thank you, Brian.
If you'd like a tape of our show or would like to become a member of our book club and receive our weekly email show updates, just write us at barrykibrick@aol.com.